I think we're live. Good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. So, it's Sunday evening and we're building more Rat Rig VCore 3. Welcome everyone back to another live stream. I don't know why I'm doing everything in a slightly singing tune. Anyway, hopefully it's obvious from the title what we're going to be doing today. We will be carrying on with wiring. The main focus, although not necessarily the only thing we'll do, is hopefully wiring of the EVA, hotend and extruder assembly. Hopefully getting all these wires nicely extended as necessary and then managed over to here. And then also doing the mains wiring, which you can see in that little shot in the corner there. So from a panel connector, well, the IEC connector, into the mains power supply, and that should complete our kind of main side. And then we've got obviously a bunch of stuff still to do to finish wiring up the Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus. So lots and lots still to do. What have I done since last time? Not very much. I've just literally cleared up the desk and I have continued printing my little clips. So more clips, which I'm using to manage all the cables on the back panel. So very simple. And I've just spent the last 10 minutes sitting here adding the nuts into here, just because obviously that's not very exciting. I've already shown how it's done. It's quite easy to do, and I didn't think it would be necessarily necessary. It wouldn't be worthwhile showing that all on stream, just adding nuts into plastic parts. So, the question is, what are we going to start with? Maybe while we wait for people to arrive, I'll start adding a few more of these clips. If anyone has any questions that we can address before we get started, maybe that would be, maybe we can do that. As I said, the main objective today will be to wire up the EVA hotend. So although there isn't necessarily that much left to do there, I did start the extensions last time, and I did also do the hotend heater wire. So, but there's still, obviously, the fans need to come off, and we'll need to do the adaptations to the wires on those in order to get them to work as we need them to. Good evening, James, and hello to everyone as well. Are the beta files for the lid? I have no idea. I'm not affiliated really with Rat Rig, so I wouldn't know. They've just obviously sponsored this build. So for all the best details, the latest details, I believe their preference is their Facebook page. But I know not everyone has Facebook. I guess the website's probably a really reasonably good place to check, and also GitHub, because it's open source, so there may be files on GitHub that you can take a look at. Has everyone had a good weekend? Let me know what you've been doing. Well, obviously not, you don't need to give me intricate details, but if you'd like to share. It's been a rather nice weekend here. It's been very, very sunny and hot. It's feeling rather like summer, which is rather nice. Everything's starting to get a little bit busy. Oops, oopsie daisy, lost that completely. How are we doing? We need this one down here. Oh, how have I managed that? There we go. Ah, watching F1. Yes, I watched the. I watched qualifying yesterday. I've not watched the actual thing, unfortunately. I've put one here. I'm not sure quite what it's for. It's also very difficult to access on this side, so that was a bit of a bad plan on my side. Might have to forego that one. Where's my hex keys gone? I've lost my Allen keys. Are they in drawer? They are in drawer. Ooh, Warren parts. Oh yeah, I saw your post actually, James, about upgrading one of your printers. Hopefully that goes well. I've made a mess of this. This hole is unfortunately too low down, really. The part on the other side is the Z stepper motor housing, so because I've put that hole a little bit too low, it doesn't quite fit. Hello, Mikkel, welcome back. Good to have you here. I think we're going to have to forego this one at the moment. It's not going to work in that exact position. I'm sure we'll find somewhere for it suitable eventually, but not right at the moment. Oh, oopsie daisy. Right, we've got quite a few people here. So there's no nut. So, as I mentioned, plan is EVA, so I think we'll get on with that in just a few seconds. While I spend another 60 seconds, 15 seconds putting these in, we've got a quick message. Oh wow, I've just completely been pointing this in the wrong direction the whole time. Sorry. Oh dear. Out of practice after 2 days. Yeah, just quick to let you know, well, just a message, sponsored message, just to let you know everything is sponsored. We'll be back in 15 seconds. This live stream would not have been possible without our sponsors, RapRig, Duet 3D and 3D Printz. So a big thank you to them for supporting the live stream. Carry on to find out more, or you can follow the links in the video. Was that advert muted for you? Because it was muted for me. Was that message just completely no sound? Sorry, let me just try that again quickly. Was that message just completely... This live stream would not have been possible without our sponsors, RapRig, Duet 3D and 3D Printz. So a big thank you to them for supporting the live stream. Carry on watching to find out more, or you can follow the links in the video description. Okay, weird. It for some reason just didn't want to play for me, which is odd. Okay, normally it plays for me as well, just so I know when it's finished, because obviously that's useful to know, but there you go. We can't win them all. Oh, why do I keep picking up this one that doesn't have any nutting? So, let's give the cameras a quick scoot round. I think I'll have a go at this EVA wiring. So try and give you a somewhat decent view of what I'm trying to do. I've not actually tightened all the belts yet. I really should probably do that at some point. Move this up as well. Well, that's a little bit large, isn't it? Okay. So professional. Right. So that gives you hopefully as many angles as we can possibly get hold of in order to get this done right. So cables that we need to extend. We've obviously got BL Touch, that comes with fairly short wires by default. We need to work out where we're going to extend it. We've got to be a bit careful to make sure that on the maximum travels that nothing gets caught. It's going to be important. I kind of want to do everything here, but I think if I try and do everything in one place, it's just going to end up as a big bundle of connectors, and that would be really difficult to manage. So I'm thinking of a BL Touch, we might go really, really short and do it in this space here. It's going to be optimistic and a little bit risky, but I think that's going to be our best bet. So we'll go and cut these cables. So, I mean, we could probably, if we leave like an extra loop just to give ourselves some room, maybe if we do it, well, first of all, let's just cut the connectors off the ends. We'll bring the wires out of the zip ties. There you go, that's some very short BL Touch wires. Hopefully I get this right. So that's that removed, so we can take that off, and well, this is why I can just come out actually, can't it? These connectors on the BL Touch are so tiny. Right, that's that out. Next one's going to be this fan. I think this location here might actually be a good point. It'll put it near to this one. So maybe for this fan, somewhere right here. Again, I want to have some slack somewhere just in case. There we go, that'll do. And then we'll cut it maybe somewhere here. Maybe a bit shorter there. So that's going to take a bit of disassembly to get that out. That's the second one. I'm not catching questions or anything. Do I plan to add a cable chain? Maybe at some point. I mean, obviously I'm building the stock design at the moment. We might look at other modifications and such a little bit further down. But it is just the basics at the moment. And there's another question there actually as well. Why BL Touch and not an inductive sensor? Same answer to that question. This is the default configuration, so I'm doing everything as suggested. Well, buying the electronics, which don't have much in the way of detailed assembly guide. They do have wiring guides for the main board, but not like where to put them and how to cut them and doing all of this kind of stuff, which I'm doing right at the moment. But all the mechanical stuff, all the part choice, etc. is all the rat rig default configuration. Heater and thermistor we don't need to do. They should be long enough as they are. So there's just this one heater fan to go as well. Now this is probably going to be the most difficult because it comes out right here. And it's going to be going into cable management here, so we might have to get it to go down and back, although we've got a little bit of space I think here. We've got to be really careful. We could do it in the cable chain, not the cable chain, the the fabric, what's it called? You know, the cable management stuff that's going to go around it. But I'd rather have it outside so we don't have to mess with zip ties or anything if we do need to change something. This is... where do I want it to go? We can go further down here, so we could go further down, but my concern is there's not a lot of... I mean, there is room, but we got the end stop thingy adjusted quite wide at the moment. We might want to move that a little bit. Although that's probably good actually, something like that. So we can go down out a little bit, turn around, connector length in here, and then straight into the chain. What is the thing called? Why can I not get the right word for this stuff? What's it called? Sometimes words just escape me. It's a self-closing fabric thing. Who's got the word? Sleeve! That's probably not the one I was thinking of, but that is still a really good word for it. Cable sleeve, cable loom. The loom is the wiring, isn't it, technically? Wiring loom? I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about. This stuff. This stuff that this stuff's going into is going to be covering this. So I think if we cut to this far, about there. Oh, my phone is randomly connecting to some Bluetooth device. Oh, hang on a second. Let's just turn that off. Again, trying to be a little bit wary about cable length. Maybe that. Oh, this is going to be really difficult. I don't want to cover this big screw here. Where do we want to go? Oh, that's not that cable. Which one is it? This one here. It's going to be a tight squeeze. I reckon somewhere there. Let's hope that was about the right length, because we're not really going to make changes to that. Right! Now let's disassemble this stuff off the printer so we can add some wiring. Cable braid, thingamajig, flexible wrap. Yeah, all of those things. This is my workbench product coming soon. Working on the launch video and stuff for that at the moment. Oh. Oops, a daisy. The nuts are moving backwards as I'm unscrewing this rather than the... There we go. I want the screw to come forwards because I don't want to push the nut out the back. That would be bad. Okay, I think it's going... 2, 3. This is why I always take the bed surface off and don't keep it on there while doing all this kind of stuff. Because things like screws and tools and stuff generally have a bit of oil on, and you don't really want that on your print surface, so just keep it well out of the way. Preferably face down so you don't get any dust build up and stuff on it as well. So that's our that's the first fan with very short wire. What else do we need? The BL touch wire we've already got. Oh, nearly threw that away. That's the BL touch wire. And when we need this fan off the back, how do we get at that one? This screw here. Easy peasy. So let's bring this camera down here, here, right. Okie dokie, this seems really dark here today, but I think it's all right. We're not going to need that at the moment. So let's get this out of the way, that out of the way, that out of the way. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you can see on the extension wires that we did last time, we have the male terminals, which is the long terminals. So we need to do the female terminals on these ones, which look a bit like that. Oh, you can barely see because they're absolutely flipping tiny. There you go. Obviously those two are slightly different type. There's like a, I don't know if it's gold plating or just brass plated, or I don't know. One's kind of browny and one's just sort of chromy. Doesn't really matter for our purposes. They're going to be very much the same. Oh, Pavel is here. Good evening. Right. Let's start with the fan. So first we're going to just gently try and separate the wires, which has been fine. I'm not going to go too much detail on how I'm doing the crimping. We covered that quite detailed last time. So taking both those ends off. Again, I'm trying to be quite careful because with very short length of wire, not only are we already limited for space, but if we cut it any shorter, we could really start to have problems. Also, I don't want to make a mistake, which is also not going to be good at this point. So one of these came off a strip. Sorry, that was not very clear what I was talking about. So when you buy little terminals like this, you can get them like on a big kind of ribbon strip and they're all attached at the top and bottom, or you can buy them separated. I would always suggest buying them separated, because if you buy them all attached together, unless you're using a machine which cuts them off for you, A, you have to cut them off all yourself, B, you can damage the terminal as you're trying to cut it off, and C, if you don't cut it off perfectly, you end up with little sharp bits that then will stop it going into the connector properly. So, where's my nipec? Oh, it's probably up here. So, I would suggest always buying them separated. They are a little bit more expensive because they've probably had to separate them off of the manufactured strip, but it makes for a much better experience in my experience. So, which are we doing as positive and which are we doing as negative? I never know which part on the connector. As I mentioned last time, there's always something marked with an arrow to tell you which one I think is saying it's pin 1. Never sure if you should always do that as the positive one or always do it as the negative or what. It's all just very confusing. I think in this case we're going to do the negative. The pin 1 will be the black, so black's going in on the arrow. And the red will go next to it. If we find out we need to switch it around, then we can switch it around. So there we go, there's a tiny little connector, and then that will match up to one of these that we've already made. And because they're locking, that will sit in there super duper nicely. Black is mating to black, and you can't pull that apart unless you use huge amounts of force. So that's great for a hot end assembly. Downside, as I mentioned before, is it's quite big, so you'd have to find yourself a bit of space to put it in. But shouldn't be too bad. So that's obviously now attached to a nice big long cable. It won't be the black and white one because that's going to be for the BL Touch, but anyway, it'll be one of those cables with 2 pins. So now let's try the next fan. Hopefully we have equal amounts of success. With the sheathing getting stuck, don't want that. Again, using a non-standard method of crimping, but in my experience with shoddy tools, it works quite well. Let's get a little bit more crimp force on that one, I think. There we go. And we obviously need the terminal on the end. No, not the terminal. The naming of these things is so difficult. So black is going on pin 1 with the arrow, like that. Pushing as close to the connector as possible. And, oh dear. I think I might have damaged this. No. There we go. Just wasn't pushed in quite straight, so didn't connect properly. There we go. Just got jammed being pushed in. Would you recommend shouldering the connectors after crimping for added reliability? Shoulder? Do you mean soldering? No. Never ever. Never ever soldering. Soldering is not more reliability. Soldering is the worst. Never. Soldering is for PCBs where you have a solid component attached to another solid component. Don't try and extend wires by using soldering. Don't solder terminals. Don't put solder onto bare wires to put into a clamp or the screw terminals. Don't do any of those things. This is not good at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what general wisdom says anyway. Oh no. There we go. We've had a pretty good record with terminals so far. I don't think I've failed one yet. No, I've said that. Probably will. But we're having pretty good luck. Oh, sorry. Be even better if you could actually see what I was doing, wouldn't it? What's the name of those connectors? These are... Oh, damn it, we looked at them last time. They're my favourite connectors. I have a whole connectors video. I suggest you go and watch that, although I've not provided a link. I think I called it like terminals or connectors, electrical connectors for 3D printers. So I'd highly recommend watching that. It'll get you a bit more familiar with all the different connectors used on printers and what they're called. if you're modifying things, that's particularly useful, I find. Regarding soldering, soldering is exceptionally brittle. Using it in places where you have movement, repeated, especially repeated movement, so in the middle of a wire that's going to be bending again and again and again, because it's very brittle, you'll get a stress fracture, fatigue fracture, just because it's going to be bending again and again and again, and it's brittle, so it will break. Whereas this is not brittle, so it won't break. And it has an added bonus that it's easy to connect and disconnect. I thought that was going to be a bad one then, but okay. Oh, balls. That's two. I just remembered I forgot to purchase the additional terminals I needed for this connector, so we're going to be going still with the 4-pin ones, even though we only need 3. Soldering for cable extension is fine as long as the solder joint is not going to be flexed. I would be inclined to agree, yes, that's fine. If it's not moving, because you won't get the same sort of fracture. Yep, that would be fine. But if it's on a component that has a lot of vibration, I'd still probably go, I prefer a connector. These and one of these. So this one is going to be black and then white. Oh dear, this doesn't look good. Got another slight twist, or was it one with the... Oh dear. So, I've come across a situation where I can't push the terminal in because there's nothing rigid sticking out, yet it's not quite clicked. So it's always worth checking for the click. There we go. That one's a bit stiff. Again, with cheap crimp tools, sometimes it will crimp, but it will go slightly wonky. It will maybe slightly rotate or bend the connector, which means it doesn't go into the terminal quite as smoothly. And with very small gauge wires, they can be difficult to push because they've got no strength. So if you have any additional friction in the connector, the terminal won't go in. So it's useful. So this is actually on the iFixit kit. This is one of those SIM card removal tool pins. So it's just a smooth round pin. You could use a very small hex key as well. You can push on the base of the terminal. So like right at the back of it, next to right close to the wire. And it'll just give you a bit of leverage for being able to push into the connector. So I'm just going to double check with the extension that I made, which way around I'm doing these wires. Starting with orange and then red, then brown. So from the arrow, starting with orange. We're not having much luck today, are we? This one's gone in all the way, but it's gone in slightly squiff. So the spring pin is not sprung to its correct position. What we might be able to do is if we push it into here. Oh, it's just works perfectly. I do want this to go in properly, please. Nope, that's still not right. Is this the right connector? This looks different to... I think this is a cheap one off a replica printer. Let's trash that and get a proper one. So I'm just bending that pin back out so it goes in nicely. There we go, much better. What was it? Orange, then red, then brown. And then the last pin is going to be empty. Why isn't this one not going in? There we go. I always like to put two connectors together after putting the pins in just to make sure they stick. Yeah, just to put them in to make sure they don't pop out the back. It's a pretty good check. I mean, as long as you've checked all the clips are in, I think you're pretty safe, but yes, it's still worth doing. You'll find out eventually, obviously, when you assemble the rest of the printer, but still worth checking before that happens. So now we can put these little bits and bobs back on the printer. So I think if we go, what did we use before? We used this. And I put this up here. Here. Oh, you people with your soldered connectors, I don't know. It's not going to fail immediately, so if it's a temporary thing, that's probably not going to be a major problem, but these tiny connectors are such a fiddle. I'm going to use some gentle persuasion from the screwdriver to I think that's seated. I'm going to assemble the fan back on. It's a fan which for some reason is really difficult to get in the right place. Temporary things have a terrible habit of being permanent. How does this go on? I think that was up there. We have Do the longer ones go in the top or the bottom? I think the longer ones are in the bottom, the shorter ones are in the top. Another nice thing about using connectors, I mean, you can unsolder a terminal, but connectors I find are good for replacing components. Fans tend to be one of the first things to fail. A lot of the time they don't really like the amount of motion they get on a printer. So being able to replace them fairly easily is a preferable option for me. Oh no. I might have pushed that nut that's loose. Oh no, 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 no. Where's the... I need a pointed thing. These iFixit tools are so useful for just like jamming in places when you just need a thing to put in a space. There we go, that'll go. This machine takes 3 months to put together. Well, I mean, it's taking me a long time, A, because I'm doing it on stream, talking to people at the same time, and I'm obviously not doing anything between. So on those days where there's no stream, there is no progress. So I think if you were focused on getting it done, you could do it certainly a lot quicker than I have done it. Right, this is looking pretty good. So let's get our extension wires. So these are not cut to length at all, they're just all the same length and all very long. So we're going to have someone remind me that the green and yellow, in fact I should write it down and stop being lazy. So we've got front fan, or the hot end, let's call it the hot end fan, that's probably better. We've got yellow positive, and we got green negative, and then we'll have the part cooling fan, which is the one at the back, and that will be purple and blue. So we'll have part cooling, fan, for which positive and negative will be blue and purple respectively. For the BR Touch, I've kept all the colours the same, so black and white is black and white, orange, red, brown is orange, red and brown. Now I think at the other end we're going to be crimping one terminal onto 2 wires. We'll have to see how well that goes. And then I think we're pretty good. So now we need to find a way to manage these cables. Zip tie them up, pull everything back into this thing and fit a nice long sleeve. Cool, 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 cool. Right. Sorry, am I standing in front of the camera? No, not quite. How's going to be the best way to do this? I think we're going to have to go no zip tie to begin with, or a loose zip tie, and then crimp it all up once it's looking a little bit closer. In fact, I might leave that one there and just put another one in, sort of over the top, if you like. Oh, got some here. Okay, so now we've got second zip tie, which is really loose, but it will give me somewhere to put the cables so they can all go in a correct direction. Start with this fan. Again, we're going to leave a bit of cable room around the actual fan itself, just so we've got a bit of wiggle room. Going to have that connector right alongside the motor here. That's one cable in, and you can go over there. Next, we're going to take the BL touch wires and feed those through. Same method, just poke them up through that new zip tie. Being careful not to catch them on anything. They are fairly fragile because they're not very high gauge wires. Again, leaving the slack where we designed it to go. This is all bare wires. Let's just sort that out. I stripped the end a little bit for testing something last time, I think. So having nothing on the end just makes it easier to deal with because the wires don't get caught on anything or on your fingers or in the braided sleeve or anything like that. So much easier to work with. And as always, these connectors are being a bit big and in the way. Why is this not? I had a way that I wanted this to work. It's not going how I wanted to. That should be up there, and that's going like that. Not sure how I'm going to hold these in place. There's not an ideal zip tie location here. How are we looking in chat? I'm probably missing most of it because obviously I'm a little bit further away, so apologies if I've missed any questions. Kind of want to use this part of the side of the shroud to manage the cables, but I'm not sure that's going to work, so maybe we'll go a little bit further up around to here. Maybe we can put one around the BL touch, that might help. On the other end it also might not. helps it go up instead of any other direction. Should we still have plenty of room? Yep. Right. That's that one. Got some, that's all going all in the right direction. That's looking okay. This is all getting rather crowded in here. Let's get this last connector wire through. So again, trying to follow our plan with how we thought the wire and connector would sit. At least somewhere close. Not like that, it won't. We need this one to go up the back, I think. Let's just reroute it. It's going to be easier this way. So if we go in the back here, through this nice big gap. Can't decide where I want this one to go. Okay, I think this will be all right. So I'm just going to add some zip ties around this side as well for the hot end and the heater rather, and the thermistor. There are a couple of management holes that we can use. Oh, they're facing in a weird direction. Where's my tool again? I've lost it. Here. So what I've just done there is zip tie the heater wire to the thermistor wire. The thermistor wire is much thicker, so over time it doesn't tend to droop, whereas the thermistor one does because it's much thinner. So hopefully that's now got a little bit safe enough to route around that rail and shouldn't get in the way. Obviously we've not done any hot tightening on the hot end yet, so we're going to have to make sure we do that before we get everything actually printing, because otherwise we'll have plastic everywhere, but that shouldn't be too bad. Right, it's time, oh dear, for a little message from the sponsors. Of course, this being a sponsored live stream, none of this would be possible. Oh, I'm very low. None of this would be possible without a few sponsors who have provided all the parts for this build that we're doing today. So it's just a quick 2 minutes. If you'd like to like the video in the meantime, that would be also fantastic. You won't miss anything. I just need a quick break as well. So we'll be back in just around 2 minutes. This live stream would not have been possible without our sponsors, Ratrig, Duet 3D and 3D Printz. The Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus balances value and performance. It's focused on small and medium-sized machines for those that want the quality and reliability of a Duet control board but don't want the high price or high power output of the full-size Duet 3 mainboard. The Mini 5 Plus provides 5 onboard drivers and the normal complement of heaters, fans, I/O, etc. There are Wi-Fi and Ethernet variants with the option of using a single board computer, like a Raspberry Pi, for control, in the same manner as you might with other Duet 3 boards. 3D Printz is a UK-based filament supplier, but in recent times have become so much more. They're now a great destination for finding name brand components from all over the world, such as the Anklab's BL Touch, Wham Bam Systems, flexible build plates, 3D Gloop, Magico, Bondtech, Slice Engineering and more. If you're in the UK and Europe, and maybe further afield too, you might want to check out their shop for your next printer upgrade. In the UK, you'll also be able to take advantage of their free shipping for orders over £50. Ratrig is a company that you may not have heard of yet, but if you're into DIY 3D printers, or camera sliders, then we're going to change that today. The VCore 3 is a fully configurable CoreXY 3D printer kit. It's gone through several iterations over the years, and all the knowledge and lessons learned have been distilled into the VCore 3. MGN linear rails, low vibration idlers, robust 3030 extrusion frame, and 9mm belts are just some of the key selling points. Today, I'm looking at the 300mm cube default configuration, but it's also available in 400mm and 500mm cubes for those that like their printers big, and with lots of configuration options too. Keep watching to find out more, or if you need more details immediately, you can find the links in the video description. Right, I have returned. So, everything's starting to look really good, like a hot end. Like a hot end? Like a printer. Wow. So we're going to need some of this cable sleeve now to wrap this whole lot up into something that looks like it should work. Now, I think the smaller sleeve that I have here might be a bit too small for all of this stuff. I mean, it could probably work. I don't mean length, I mean diameter, so we could be okay actually. It's going to kind of spiral. I think we'll probably be okay. Maybe we'll use this thinner stuff. So we'll start, I think, have I got a... I'm not sure if I created a length, did I? I think this one was for the bed. I created a length for the bed. I'll do that another time. Get out this big loop. So I'm not sure exactly how long I want this, so I'm going to cut it over length, and it can be cut down then if needed. I'm going to gently use a flame, which causes a little bit of smoke, to melt the ends so it doesn't fray. Nobody likes frayed ends after all. We got the other end to do as well, actually. That's still... Okie dokie. Oh, chat's going way too fast for me to keep up with. Everyone's talking about things and I'm just doing this, so you guys carry on. I kind of want this sleeving off the stepper motor cable. It's unnecessary and it's bulky, so it's getting in the way. We don't need this full length, so we can immediately reduce that. Let's cut off like this much. And then remove the sleeve. We might just be able to slide this one off, actually. Oh, because it's all the way around that corner. Oh, poop. Skills, right. That's the sleeve off. That reduces the overall diameter. That should make that a little bit tidier. Nice, 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 nice. Let's see if we can get it in the sleeve. This is the only cables that look like this coming through here, so shouldn't have any confusion. Come on. Oh, you mean like cable zip ties for this bit? That's not a bad idea. Although the Velcro zip ties are quite expensive. I'm going to undo this and pull through these. I want these cables free at the moment. It's going to be a bit easier to do, I think, without stuff getting caught. Also going to remove this zip tie on here. In fact, no, I will leave it on there as a marker, a gauge at the moment. I think maybe this might be more appropriate at the moment. Yeah, it is. It's quite a drastic change, isn't it? It goes from a pile of wires to, ooh, this looks like a printer. 100 pieces of, presumably that's the Velcro ones. Yeah, that's pretty cheap. Strength-wise, I suppose they're probably fine. They're not providing much in the way of clamping load. This is really, really long. We're not going to need all this, but... God, doesn't that look good? Right. So, ideally, my favourite thing to put in this tube is a piece of 2mm nylon filament. 2.3mm nylon filament, rather. But I don't have any anymore. I don't know what happened to it. I used to have like a 20mm piece. I'm pretty sure I've not done 20 printers with it, so I don't know what happened. Anyway, don't have any nylon to put in here at the moment, so I'm going to make do with an alternative. Yes, I'm just about to do that. So what I want to add in, I think now that we're bundled together, I'm going to take out this one zip tie here. We'll get everything nicely collected. Get that motor cable in. And I'm going to put some zip ties in it, which might sound pretty stupid, but it is also made of nylon, so it might help a little bit. So let me show you. These are like super big, thick nylon. Let me show you why that's technically not PTFE, but this is like cap tube, filament kind of tube. The reason why PTFE tube is no good is if you permanently deform it like this, it tends to kind of stay like that, or at least partly floppy, tight bend radius, and it just becomes kind of dead. So a bit of weight on the cables and it'll just do that. Whereas with nylon, especially of this diameter, you do the same thing, you tie it over a tight bend and it just all springs back. Tight and it springs back. So nylon's really great for doing this. So I'm going to stick maybe 2 or 3 of these nylon zip ties up the end of this tube, and I'll do the same at the other end, and it should help keep the cables in a good position. Seems a little bit weird. I've not tried it before, but I think it will work okay. And I'm going to leave the ends on because that will stop them sliding up the cable, as the zip tie will prevent them moving anywhere. Right. It's difficult to do this when the camera's in the prime looking position. Right, I'm going to put some, no, let's carry on with the cheap ones. I do have some like slightly better zip ties. These ones which I've been using are the really cheap, very thin ones, and even with your own hands you can pull them too hard and break them. So they're a little bit rubbish, but they're okay, I think, for this. In fact, I'm not sure. We're just about there. I'd like to tie this a bit tighter. The curvature of the thing here, the cable gripper, is a little bit wide, I think, for the number of cables that are going through. I think that could be a little bit smaller, and then we get a tighter grip from the cable ties. Right. Do you want to have a little bit of a closer up view? Yeah, we can't get the cable ties much tighter than that, I don't think. A little bit, a little bit. Oh, the other thing, the tool changer uses those pieces of spring steel, don't they? I've just thought of that. Integrating that onto here, I don't think they've claimed any sort of intellectual property over that design, have they? I don't think so. If we can find a way to integrate that design onto this, that would probably be fantastic. Didn't this just, it's just changed immediately. That's gone from looking like a pile of wires to a blooming printer. Check that out. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I always eat dinner before I do these streams and then I end up like that. I do apologise for my rudeness. I'm listening, please explore that thought. Which one? James, you'll be fine if, because you're not selling the design, but this is obviously being sold from Ratrig, so. Yeah, well so they, E3D were looking at ways to have cable bundles like this, and they started with this big like overhead gantry, and a whole bunch of kind of wires holding up these so they could have all their tools and keep the chain all nice and smooth and not have things flop all over the place. And I think they just had a piece of spring steel like around the shop somewhere, and they're just like, let's just give it a go. And the spring steel just basically just bent perfectly. Obviously spring steel's extremely springy. It stays upright because it's kind of a flat sheet. It doesn't twist. Provides a really good curvature. Yeah, that would be, I mean, oh, how could it fit? We'll have to look at actual design, but I reckon, given that this has plenty of space in at the moment, I think you could have a slot down the back of this cable holder that it can push into. Maybe using that screw hole that's in there, so maybe you would assemble that at the same time. Over the top, same kind of thing on this end. Bob's your uncle. That would be mwah. A large zip tie does the same, it's not conductive. Welding wire would also welding wire would also work. Yeah. So many things. Yeah, something cool. Something like that would be fan-dabby-tastic. Oh, we could. Oh, that looks super tidy. I don't think I'm going to be doing that everywhere on the printer. So I've just, we'll move this close-up view down a little bit now. Back to the back of the printer, because this is probably where I'm going to be going. Look at this fabric zip tie, fabric cable wrap. It just makes everything just look amazing. I love it. And also this, where the cables are feeding at the top, the design generally is intended to have it feed right in the middle. I've added a screw so I couldn't do that, but I've also got this here, so I'm just going to move it across just a little bit, and then it'll all line up nice and nicely. Can you tell I'm getting all excited? When things just look good, they tend to just be good too. 9mm by 0.3mm spring steel on eBay. Pavel, did you see what Rushmere 3D James just mentioned there? 9mm by 0.3mm spring steel. I'm guessing that's going to be significantly more expensive than welding wire, but both the options might be worth exploring. as well as thick nylon. I mean, 2.85mm nylon is a pretty good option, but I think at larger dimensions, you start to really reach its limitations, whereas spring steel, I guess, would hold up a little bit better for a little bit longer. This just, the way it just all sits perfectly at the right diameter is just disgustingly tidy. Let's get this off here. Maybe I'll add a little bits of that cable wrap along other parts of the printer just to make it extra specially tidy. But for now, let's move the carriage back to its worst / longest away position. It is going to have quite a bit of a bend. The full extremity, I don't think I'm going to be printing right in the very corner very much though, so, and as soon as you move a little bit away, the situation is much better. So we're fine for that full extremity, just not super duper ideal. So where do we want to cut this sleeve? Maybe after the first thing, sort of here perhaps? Oh, I can't believe how nice this looks. That does look really good. It looks weird on my screen. There's loads of like strange aliasing. I just mean like this bit here. The matte black ABS clips also just make it disgustingly tidy. Oh dear. That's such a good statement. Oh dear. That's going to be my review of my summary of the review. You can make it disgustingly tidy. Oh dear. Unfortunately, this is going to make it look less tidy when you stick this in the side, but still, it just looks amazing, doesn't it? So where are we going to cut this? I think at the moment, maybe, to be honest, anywhere in here is going to be fine, so let's just do it and stop talking about it. I really want this marker in here, but I also want it not in here. Well, we know roughly where that's going now. I think we can just deal without it, we'll be fine. Let's cut this out, because it gets in the way, this zip tie. It was only just give me an idea when I was testing things. So to make the most out of this self-closing stuff sleeve thing, we do want to kind of twist it. So seems weird, but if you kind of twist it around let's go over here. So if you kind of twist it around the cables, obviously you don't want to be really twisting the cables on the inside, but if you twist it around the cables, it forms really nicely and tightly onto the cable bundle. Can get a bit weird, but this is probably not necessary, to be honest, but I think it looks its best like that. There we go. Disgustingly tight. So let's get another zip tie on the outside of the sleeve now. This tiny ones might not be enough. Again, I think we're going to have the problem where no matter how tight I do the zip tie, it's not going to grip the cables. Yeah. It doesn't really grip anything, unfortunately. Can do though is maybe put one over here. Just want to make sure that this heater can get to here. That's the main thing. Yep. So that's obviously not really holding it down at the moment, but it will keep it as a guide in approximately that position. Just to help me with the rest of the wiring. Oh, you can't see. Well done, Adam. There you go. So there's a zip tie around this part here, because this one up here doesn't really hold it, unfortunately. So, in fact, we probably want it a bit higher because some of these cables have got to go in a different direction. Okay, now we have to sort these wires out and make them go where they need to go. So this one is going down here, we know that. That one we've done before. These are stepper motor wires, so they are going only as far as there. Purple and blue. Blue and purple is the part cooling fan. So these two fans are going down in here. So again, we're going to go down in this way and across here. BL touch goes up over this direction. So that's the black and white as well. That's coming in there. We'll refine the length and everything in a bit. Green and yellow is the hot end fan. So again, that's coming down this way. Same as that one. And then these two are going back over this way. Damn, this thing's really coming together. It's this bit where it's very easy to get a little bit overexcited and start to rush things or do stuff wrong. So I'm going to be trying and keep myself relaxed, and we'll go nice and slow. So, wow, it's looking good, isn't it? Maybe we'll go with the mains wiring next. Or should we, what's the time? It's 9 o'clock and we were planning to be doing, sorry, really, really warm. Seeing we've done that kind of stuff up on the extruder and this stuff's all loose, I might do this off stream because we've covered all these kind of connectors and wiring length stuff already. So I don't think there's really much to learn. Not that necessarily I'm able to educate everything, but I have covered how I'm doing it, is kind of what I meant, I suppose. So if you did want to know, then that information is already available. how I do the crimps and how I do the wiring and how I get the lengths to what I want them to be. So I think now we'll have a go at doing the mains wiring, as that is going to be a challenge for some people, I think, as well. So you might want to know how I'm doing it. There you go. Let's get all this out of the way. So, mains wiring. How can we do a really weird close-up shot? There we go. So, for wiring the mains. Oh look, these are the zip ties I meant to use for the drag chain. So, where is it? Here. We need this. We need this. We need this. We need this. We'll need this in a bit. We need this. So, in fact, let's cover down here. That PSU looks so tiny. Well, it is quite tiny, but it's not really. It's a normal size. I don't know if you meant geometrically tiny, or wattage tiny, or sarcastically tiny. So this wire I'm using is cut from a cable that's for mains wiring, so has high current capacity. Not very high, but plenty high enough for this. I can't remember exactly what the gauge is. It's probably written on the sheathing, but that's all gone. But obviously, if you're in America and you use different colours, or wherever else, and you're using different colours, that's fine. In the UK, please let me get this right, brown is live and blue is a neutral. It's always the opposite way around to what I think, because you think, oh, blue, that's like bright and kind of vibrant colour, that'll be the live one, and then brown will be the neutral, but I always remember it the wrong way around, so I think the brown is live. And we have obviously yellow and green for earth. Now where's the rest of my earth cable? Did I put it in the bin or something silly? Because obviously we did this earth from the bed last time, so there should have been a spare length, but there is not. Huh. Well, that's annoying. We do need an earth, because otherwise this will not be terribly safe. I found some of the sheathing and it doesn't actually label anything on the outside. Well, I'll have to cut a bit more out of this length of cable. Oh yeah, this is mains wiring, so be safe. It's like, to be clear, this is how I'm doing it. This is not necessarily the way to do it. I don't know, it's weird, like, wiring is always dangerous. Make sure you understand what you're doing before you do it. I do my best to give you the best information I can. But you should try and do things correctly, always. Double check with multiple sources. Get an electrical engineer or an electrician to help or double check things for you. All the above. Obviously, while you're wiring the printer up, like during this stage where there's no power cables involved, it remains reasonably safe. So obviously you start to get danger when there's power involved. So this is 1.5 millimeter square wire. I'm not sure what that is in American wire gauge. Ironically, I use American wire gauge. Oh yeah, it will be. Yeah, I just forgot that. I've actually done that multiple times, but too late now. I've done it the rubbish way. So here we go. Now we have all the 3 types. They have this powder on them. I think it's to keep them dry. It absorbs any moisture that gets inside. So I'm going to be crimping red terminals. These are the ones that I've already put on all of these, just to make sure I have all the ones I need. So this is an IEC connector. This is obviously where your power is going to be coming into the machine. So you've got 3 pins. Make sure you definitely wire them correctly. You can find diagrams and stuff available online and various places. 1.5 is 16 gauge, I think. Yeah, 16 gauge should be enough for this. So again, we're doing the same kind of method that I showed you before. Obviously this time, because we're using fully covered terminals, which I highly recommend for anything with mains, you can't see it coming out the end, but just make sure you cut it the right length and then you don't have to worry about it. So you've got the earth coming in at the top, neutral on one side, live on the other. The live comes through this plate and then across to here. In this gap here is the fuse, which you can see here, which you obviously need to have installed at a suitable current. And then you bring those 2 across to these 2, and this makes sure that both the live and the neutral are switched with this switch. So double pole, double throw switch. You can have, or there are connectors available, often used on Chinese printers. The Creality CR6 SE used a single pole, which meant you had the neutral wire always going into the printer. Personally, this seems much, much safer. So yeah. How much amps have your fuse? I don't know. I'm definitely going to use the fuses that are in here. I think these are only 5 amp fuses. How much wattage have we got here? 600 on the bed, and maybe another 150 for everything else. 750, so that's 3 amps. 5 amps is probably cutting it a little bit close, but it's probably fine. 10 amps, probably a little bit more sensible. I'm not actually sure. I'm going to double check which size fuse I should be using. I think there's like a code for what current fuse you should have for what current of the load. So I'm going to be double checking that before I power on the printer. Oh, this is not going well today. think I'm clamping this the wrong way around. It's supposed to go. Oh shit. So that's earth at the top. That's neutral. So neutral we want to bend right over here. That's going to come straight down onto this next pin. No, right down to the switch. So somewhere about there should be good. Sometimes these cheaper terminals, again, they don't clamp onto the part they're supposed to clamp to quite as hard as you might want them to. So I tend to, if I need to, clamp the ends a little bit just to get a good tight connection, because you don't want them coming off or coming loose. That feels good now. So you've got a little loop there. This is not live. Brown is live, so brown is this one on this side, which is coming through this strip here, and then across the fuse to here. So we'll do that one now. I'm not having much luck with this tool today. Let's try again. Much better. I think he has a fused entry module. Yes, this is a fuse here. I'd like to see the power supply and bed heater on separate fuses. I'm not sure why. I mean, the bed has a thermal fuse. So that's our hoops, and then we got the two outputs here, and obviously the all-important earth. So got some extra length here. This one's probably a little bit tight, so we won't bother with that. Those. Really don't know why this is failing so bad today. Let's try that again. Is there a bed heater fuse on the controller? There is a fuse for the bed on the controller, but that will only really have any relevance when you're using a bed that's powered by the voltage in on the bed. So let me show you here. So you've got the bed output here and the voltage input here, but because our bed is powered through mains and the SSR, the current that's being drawn out of here is only enough to power the SSR and switch that on and off. It's nothing, the current here doesn't relate to the power going to the bed. So while there is a fuse, it's going to be largely irrelevant for a mains power bed. This one obviously is a bit loose, so I'm going to clamp it a little bit tighter. Not too much. If you overdo it, then you'll never get it on. Oh, says me, you now can't get it on. There we go. So there we go. That's looking reasonably good. So now we need to get our panel in true Blue Peter fashion. Here's one I made earlier. So, oh, that wide camera is now in a really weird place. Let's move that a bit. Hopefully that's a bit more sensible. I like it. So, while the printer is meant to have a kind of full side panel, if you want these kind of things, I didn't want a full side panel at this time, so I've made this kind of partial one. This is basically the whole panel but with just the ends sliced off, and I've added some additional holes in here, and so this can mount on this side, which you can't see. Oh dear. So I'm going to need some nuts, slot nuts for this. Hopefully there's some in the kit. So, because I didn't actually check if I have any, and there might not be actually, maybe some in the spares. We've got some M3 which we might be able to use in the meantime. That's spool holder. Yeah, this is outside the realms of the standard kit, so we might be able to get one or two out of this bag, but I don't have any. Oh no, we had. No, there's none. Well, that's a bit of a downside, isn't it? Might have to ask Rig for some extra 30 nuts. Okay, so let's not mount that. Or let's mount it with tape at the moment, because I want to carry on. Instead, we'll start with mounting the parts that go into it. So, back to the close-up. Pop. You switched the live and neutral. Yes, much safer to have the live and the neutral switched. Both of them should go through the switch. So I'm going to double check now that I've wired it correctly, because that seems like a sensible thing to do. There's nothing like being asked questions while on a live stream to make you doubt yourself. So, while the switch is in the off position, we should have neutral connected to neutral down here. No, we can't get in there. There we go, that's good. And then we shouldn't have it on the other side. Well, that's not good. Oh, that's the on position. There you go, that's off position. And it also won't be connected to, it will be there, it won't be there, it won't be there. This one, oh, we can't really get to that one. So if we switch it on, we'll have connection across here. So there you go, that seems good. So we're going to be mounting these in here. There's two printed parts. These are not, again, they're not in the standard kit. They may be when they start shipping panels, I don't know, but at the moment they're not. So the live must be on the fuse side, not the null. What the hell are you talking about? The live goes through the fuse. Look. This is live. Live comes in here. Live comes in here. This point here goes through here, down through fuse to here, which is the brown wire, which comes through here, which is then on the switch. The live should be on the inside. Do you mean like switch these two around? So that it's brown here and blue on both of these. Does that really matter? They're both going through the switch. Okay, well, I'll change them, but I can't believe it makes any difference. There we go, now it's the other way around. Again, probably makes absolutely zero difference, so don't know why that's relevant. If anything, that's worse now. That's not even clamped properly. Because it's now so tight that the stiffness of the wires is going to force it to come off. The switch doesn't have a light, so it's not going to make a difference. Or is that why you thought they needed to be swapped, because of the light? Doesn't make any difference, right. So we've got these two printed parts, so we're going to thread the wires. I mean, we could have assembled this before we did all the wires, but we didn't, so we're doing it now. thread this on here, then that on here, and then we can get some nuts and screws. So I'm going to get some countersunk screws. Oh, they're not going to be easy to fish out. Did I prepare some? No. Well, let's just use some normal screws. And we're going to need some nuts. To be honest, on German wall plugs you can switch them by just putting the plug in the other way around anyway. Okay, well we can't switch ours. The UK plug doesn't switch around. But this, it's literally just a switch. They're going to switch both sides literally just the same. So we're going to thread the cables through the hole in the panel with the earth wire as well. And then we've got 4 more screws to put on here. I think we're going to need some slightly longer ones than I have to hand. So let's grab some longer screws. 12 probably would have been best, but I don't have any 12s to hand. 16 I think is going to be way too long. Let's try 10, see how we get. There might be some M3x12 in the bag. That's probably the right length. These nuts are sticking out the back a bit, so that needs to be a tighter. There we go. So nylock screw on the back there, and another one on the other side. And 2 more down the bottom. Is this the right for that? No, that's 7. I think we want 5.5, which is orange. In fact, before we do that, let's actually just install the other one. So the other part here is for the LAN connector. So what I've got here is an RJ45 toolless keystone. So it basically is a little housing with a clip on. So you've got an RJ45 port on one side and an RJ45 port on the other side. If you're super advanced, you can have the not toolless ones, so you'd have to wire in RJ45 or Ethernet cable to one of the sides. But it's kind of maybe easier in many cases to just do it this way and have a toolless one. To insert this is actually one of the parts I've modified. So you can find my design online too. So basically you put in one side like this, push the clip to the top and push it down a little bit and press it in. and now it's solidly in there. From this side, you have access to the actual connector, and you'll be able to press down the clip. I can show you, I've got a cable here. So you've got this one side, so you can get to that, and the little clip sticks out, and you can remove it, and it clicks in nicely. And then the same on the inside. That's going to stick out a lot further than may be feasible. Might have to look at that. So this again goes in here, and that's going to be a bit more difficult to put in. Where's my M3x12 screws that I had? Here. So just 2 screws for this one top and one bottom. This is not, so to be clear, the main design for this RJ45 is not mine. I've modified it very slightly to make it easier to insert this, but the main design, my design style is not very good either. The style is not mine at all. I believe is, Pavel, was this you that made this RJ45 connector originally? Or is this from Rat Rig directly? So now that we've got that all in there, let's stick this panel on and see where we get to. Beautiful. So I'm hoping this Ethernet cable will, I mean, ideally I'd make my own, but I'm not really set up for all that at the moment. So I'm probably going to bundle a large length of this cable right next to the housing, right next to the keystone. Up in here. The power supply, that's not really ideal, is it? But, and then this will come out over here towards Mr. Control Board. And then we've got our mains connectors, which are going to connect in here. So I'm going to use some tape to hold this on for now. I do not recommend that at all, not for anything. Yeah, so status currently, I do have said tool. I mean, it comes in many different forms. Do have one. Got it recently. Got some terminals, but they weren't passed through, so they were really, really difficult to do. And the cable that I had delivered was designed for outside use, so it had extra stuff along the inside. Cables were solid, so they're really, really stiff, and it wouldn't have really been suitable. So yes, I do want to have a proper thing, but I don't at the moment. Basically, I bought some plasticky cover things. I mean, they were irrelevant, but I bought them anyway. What was I coming over here for? I needed a thing. What was that thing? Some tape to hold the panel. Oh God. I feel really bad doing this because this is like really 100% how not to do it. It might be better to just use the M3 screws at the moment with a big washer on it, because I don't... Having stuff that has mains wires attached by tape, I've decided that idea is not very nice, and we're going to try and use some washers and screws instead. Hopefully the M3 washer won't go through the hole, so we should be able to hold it on. It won't be ideal, it's still not good, but it should be better than, well, a fraction safer than just what I was going to have a minute ago. Time, 9:30. Getting on, aren't we now, in time? Ah, toolless. Oh, I thought this one, I mean this keystone I have here said it was toolless. I thought that's what toolless was, as in just RJ45 both ends, but if you can just use like direct wire attachment on a toolless one, that would probably be better. You're right, because if people don't have to get a crimp tool to do it, that would probably be, that would save everyone a lot of money probably. Prevent the sale of 500 crimp tools or something. Okay, let's get all of them on. Why have we got a... Oh, that was a crap one, wasn't it? Again, this panel probably looks a little bit ugly at the moment, the way I've kind of marked it and written all over it. The plan is, once all the wiring's kind of done, I'll take the panels out, as sad as it will be to unplug everything, and just give everything a little spruce of paint. It probably won't be a great paint job, if I'm totally honest, but it will probably look a little bit better than it does at the moment. And it will match closer to the original intended design, which is to have these panels in a nice black colour. Although personally, I would quite like this side white and the inside black, so you get a nice kind of black finish on the inside, which would look pretty swish, but then nice bright working area for dealing with the electronics. I never tightened up the screws on those. Am I going to be able to reach that from here? Yes, A, I'm not using a Pi, and B, Wi-Fi is super not reliable. especially when you're a long way from the router and you can't really move the router particularly easily. Well, I could if I paid money to, well, whatever. Like, I prefer Ethernet, faster transfers, generally more reliable, just preferred in all instances for me. If you don't want to have Wi-Fi and you want to do Ethernet, you can do, or if you want Wi-Fi rather, you do Wi-Fi. So that's that. I reckon we could add a hole here for cable management, couldn't we? That'd be nice. And I think one thing that is missing at the moment is a good cover to go over here. And maybe also one to go over these terminals. And maybe one to cover here as well. Just generally covering this area a little bit more. Because, I don't know, it's just any opportunity to pick up the printer and you're grabbing maybe this part and you stick your fingers in and you've got live right there. If you maybe forgot to unplug it or something, it's just a very slight safety concern. Nothing major. I mean, the chances of it happening are very low, but anywhere where you think of something like that, it's best to deal with it sooner rather than later, maybe. I should do a video just on tools. You know what? So many people, I'm pretty sure, have bought Weir Allen keys after watching a stream. And I bet nobody's found my affiliate link for them either. Never mind. I never thought people would be that interested in the tools I'm using for some reason. What do you want a video on? Everything? Trouble is, the message I don't want to send is that you need to get Weir tools and expensive crimp tools and like Nipex pliers, Nipex side cutters just to do 3D printing. This is a lot of money's worth of tools, and it's fine for me because I use them all the time. Like, it helps for me to have quality tools that I can rely on because I'm using them constantly. Like, if my side cutters ended up breaking in the middle of a live stream, that would be really bad. But for people to get started, it's really not essential to spend very much money on tools. So yeah, it might be cool for people to see the tools I'm using, I guess, maybe, from what you're saying. But I don't want people to get the impression that you need to spend money on tools to be like good at 3D printing or to get good results or anything like that. Neutral blue, that's right. Then brown is live. I'm talking to myself, just to make sure I get it right. Brown. People are paying this much money for a printer, they probably have the disposable income to buy nice tools. This is probably true. I mean, I could do, I don't know. Trouble is, not all viewers are going to be buying this printer. Obviously, maybe a good portion of people in watching these live streams, perhaps. Oh, speaking of, oh, I should probably do another ad spot as well. Oh, bloody thing. There's a discount code for people that do want to buy one of these machines. So you can get 25 euros off, which may not seem like a huge amount, but it gives me a little kickback as well. So if you are going to buy one and you want to say thank you, you can grab yourself 25 euros off, and that gives me something too. And in just a moment, we're going to do the sponsorship promotional thingy. There you go, look at that. Things are all looking a bit close, but we're all in. So just a quick 2-minute message from the sponsors. You shan't miss anything, as I won't be doing anything while you're gone. So I shall see you in 2 minutes after a quick thank you. This live stream would not have been possible without our sponsors, Ratrig, Duet 3D and 3D Printz. The Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus balances value and performance. Medium-sized machines for those that want the quality and reliability of a Duet control board but don't want the high price or high power output of the full-size Duet 3 mainboard. The Mini 5 Plus provides 5 onboard drivers and the normal complement of heaters, fans, I/O, etc. There are Wi-Fi and Ethernet variants with the option of using a single board computer, like a Raspberry Pi, for control, in the same manner as you might with other Duet 3 boards. 3D Printz is a UK-based filament supplier, but in recent times have become so much more. They're now a great destination for finding name brand components from all over the world, such as the Anklabs BL Touch, Wham Bam Systems, flexible build plates, 3D Gloop, Magico, Bondtech, Slice Engineering and more. If you're in the UK and Europe, and maybe further afield too, you might want to check out their shop for your next printer upgrade. In the UK, you'll also be able to take advantage of their free shipping for orders over £50. Ratrig is a company that you may not have heard of yet, but if you're into DIY 3D printers, or camera sliders, then we're going to change that today. The VCore 3 is a fully configurable CoreXY 3D printer kit. It's gone through several iterations over the years, and all the knowledge and lessons learned have been distilled into the VCore 3. MGN linear rails, low vibration idlers, robust 3030 extrusion frame and 9mm belts are just some of the key selling points. Today I'm looking at the 300mm cube default configuration, but it's also available in 400mm and 500mm cubes for those that like their printers big, and with lots of configuration options too. Keep watching to find out more, or if you need more details immediately, you can find the links in the video description. Right. Cool. Let's have a quick review of the work so far. Isn't it looking dandy? This is really looking like a printer and I'm very happy about that. This definitely needs a management thing in here somewhere, doesn't it? Something that helps that stay in, a hole and a clippy thing. I've put a hole up here. I think that's probably too close. I think something down here would be more appropriate. Maybe one over there and a second one over here. Or, I mean, to be honest, it needs that cover, doesn't it? I think I might design a quick cover that's quite easy to print and covers this area so there's no chance of stray fingers getting in there. So, all the intense stuff I think is going to be done now, so let me just slowly and gently do a bit of more wiring, and then we shall be finishing off. How long we got? Another maybe 15 minutes. If anyone has any questions, now's probably a reasonably good time. Let's have a go at this. So this is going to be the extruder motor, which is coming in here, which is coming up there. Probably can just jump from that point. Maybe we'll go here. Or do we want to go? Maybe somewhere there. This is going to be one of those ones that's a bit more difficult because it's coming from the extruder. Going to have to do it in a slightly weird way. I'm missing most of the chat, I think. Tag me if you need me. No. Right. Connector. Again, making sure we get the orientation right. So black goes in one, green, red, then blue. left and right motors. Let's do another stepper motor. Thank you very much. See you later. Asger. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Apologies. My pronunciation of names is well known to be absolutely terrible. So up here, so on the rear this is the left, but on the front that will be the right. So that's coming into here. More of these. Righty ho, that's another one done. Well, kind of just up there. You want to see this thing moving? Damn, man, I want to see this thing moving. Yeah, I don't think we're moving today, people. I thought there was a chance, but I don't think there is. Oh, what's going on there? There we go. This is probably one of the tidiest printer wiring jobs I've ever done. And I'm very happy about that. A, because it means I've not wasted loads of time managing wires on other printers. And B, because this one is looking rather outstanding. So, what do we need to do next? I guess we do this other motor cable. Why the hell not? Whoop. Whoop. What we do need probably is the rest of the cable management things that are going in here. Thank you, Christian. You can move it to the floor. I'm not sure that's the kind of movement that people are really after, to be honest. But thanks for the suggestion. I'm going to troll people on the next stream. They're like, I got VCore 3 moving, and it's the whole video is just me moving the printer to the floor. Oh, that would be cruel. And probably result in a lot of people disliking me. Oh, come on. Oh, silly Billy. Let's just take this one out. Move this over here, this over here. Move you in here. I do like that these brackets I printed in ABS. That was a good decision. They're really, really durable. You can bend them quite a bit before they, well, I've not had one break yet, so I don't know, but they're doing pretty well. Yeah, maybe, but I didn't know that. That was, I mean, with the instructions, they didn't tell you either which way to go or it wasn't very specific or something. So they are the way they are. It's the same with the stepper motors. The stepper motors at the front, because they are, they have rotational symmetry, the two lead screws at the front, the main left and right lead screws. So I assembled them both exactly the same. So one of the stepper motor wires is going in the perfect direction, and one of those is not. You can see actually down there. So this one, I would want the connector to come out this face and go along here, but it actually comes out over this side, and then it goes all the way around the step motor in this way. But I mean, who cares? It's ultimately, it doesn't make a big difference. I think those sorts of things only really start to matter if you provided like preset cable lengths. So for example, if your cable might not reach if you assemble the motor facing in the wrong direction or something. But that's not a problem at the moment here. Might just take this one out of the motor for this one. Oh dear. What's the time? Oh, we're 10 o'clock. Good timing. Oops. Two, four, here we go. Black, green, red, blue. Nice. Stepper motor. Clip, 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 clip. Plug. Booyah! Right, that's going to be it for today. Looking pretty good. Wiring's finally starting to really look like a, well, be a completed printer. It will, just not today. I'm pretty happy with the progress we made. 2.5 hours. We've only done a small handful of wires. As I mentioned before, crimping this kind of stuff does take a little while, so if you're hoping for a job that's 10 minutes long, then wiring up an entire printer is not the job you're looking for. But if you want to know every detail of a printer, wiring one up is a pretty good way to do that, especially if you've got plenty of time on your hands. So obviously a few more crimps to go, and then we've got the wiring done. Then we're going to have another review of the firmware, make sure we got all the configuration right about stepper motor directions and stuff like that. We have to do Duet doesn't really use a PID tune as much as it uses PID parameters that guide the, we'll talk about that another time. We have to do some hot tightening on the hot end. All the kind of bed leveling stuff, check that everything's working, check that sensors are working when they should be. And then we'll be pretty close to printing. So I might try and get there isn't actually an additional wire that's not here, which we'll need to add. I might just use a tiny, anyway, that's going to be it today. Oh man, thanks for the stream. Thank you for watching. How wide is the crimping for JST in millimeters? Depends on JST. Is it JST SM, XH, PST? Like, there's so many types of JST connectors. About 30,000 in total, so it's important you get the right one. Nice job. Post pictures to the gallery, please. Yes, well, I will. I probably will when it's done. I think that'd be appropriate time, because at the moment this panel looks ugly and I don't like it. But the wiring is nice. JST XH, the pitch is 2.54 millimeters, but the pitch is nothing to do with the actual crimping tool. I don't know if we're asking about the tool or what. When is the next stream? I don't really know. They tend to come and go a little bit randomly. I tried to give about, well, as much as 7 hours notice. I normally will put up a thing on YouTube. Or to be honest, for this Rat Rig live stream, the best place probably to find out is to join the Discord. Mikhail's wonderful unofficial Discord channel. And there I post in the announcements as soon as I have a live stream to let everyone know, and that way you'll get a notification. Discord, definitely the best way. Is there a link? Did I provide a link in the chat, in the description for the Discord channel? I probably haven't, but that is definitely the best place to go. So hopefully you'll be able to find that. I think if you probably Google it, unofficial Discord, Rat Rig VCore, or stuff like that. It's not for the VCore 3, it's for all of Rat Rig stuff. So hopefully you'll be able to find it. Hopefully the link's in the description. There are links actually from the Rat Rig pages now, so you should be able to find that. But yes, that's going to be it for me today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Thank you very much to Mikhail and Pavel for answering questions as we went through. Really appreciate that. Hopefully everyone got something out of this, whether you're watching it live or playback later. Hopefully your build is going well if you're building along with me, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone. Ta-da! Good evening, good morning, good day, and all of the above. I shall see you.